So earlier this year I did a video about Madou Monogatari 1, and it's actually been one of the more popular videos on my channel so far. Just to recap, Madou Monogatari is a series of RPGs, the vast majority of which have only ever released in Japan. The series began with an episodic release on the MSX called Madou Monogatari 1, 2, 3, beginning in 1989. The series would receive a number of entries in Japan throughout the 90s, including Madou Monogatari 1, which is the Sega Mega Drive remake of the first chapter, which is what I reviewed on the channel earlier this year using the fan translation. The series spin-off, Puyo Puyo, would become a national phenomenon meanwhile. Just a reminder, Puyo Puyo is a falling block style puzzle game using the Puyo characters from Madou Monogatari. The Puyos were kind of common enemies in the series, think similar to the slimes from Dragon Quest or any other kind of mascot kind of character. What was unusual and a bit unfortunate in a way is that Puyo Puyo would actually become more popular than the series it spawned from, with Puyo Puyo Sue in particular being hugely popular.
Hey, それでもまだまだ。いて、やったな。これは、やられた。あっと1本返した。ベースゴー2-1。
According to Amusement Magazine, Sue was actually the highest grossing arcade PCB in Japan in 1995. As you may know, Sega would continue to make Puyo Puyo games, mixing the old characters together with their new ones. They would start consistently localizing them with the Nintendo Switch and PS4 versions of Puyo Puyo Tetris in 2017. So that brings us to the subject of today's video. Madou Monogatari, Fia and the Mysterious School was released on November 28th this year only in Japan for PS5, PS4 and Nintendo Switch. This game has a similar roguelike style to Curse of the Great Curry God before it, but what makes this game in particular interesting is that as part of a deal with Sega, it brings back characters that Sega have owned ever since they started making the Puyo Puyo games. The Puyos, Sukatara, Skeleton T and more make appearances. For today's video, again, like I've done before, I wanted to take kind of a quick look at this game. Again, I don't speak Japanese unfortunately, so I'm kind of winging it here. I'm going off of guesses, stuff like Google Translate, outside sources based on the game like the websites and promotional materials and things like that, and other outside sources. But either way, let's go and take a look at this game. The story revolves around Fia, a new character who leaves her hometown to go to magic school. She's one of the many new students at the magic school. Everyone is under the influence though of some weird magic, and everyone gets put to sleep by the magic and gets turned into this dragon creature. In the classroom, our teacher, Riven, tells Fia to gather a party together for dungeon crawling. So we go around the school meeting our classmates and eventually get a party together. Fia, Eska, Will and Lena. They hear the story of the legendary magician, and so from here the game goes in kind of a social sim kind of direction. We're given quests and head into dungeons to complete them. You can also go back into the classroom and get a number of tips. The dungeons have a roguelike style format where it's randomly generated each time. The battles are action based. On the top right of the screen there's a timeline and you can use both standard attack and magic attacks. You can collect items along the way and the mechanics aren't too deep from what I played, but they are solid enough for what I imagine is meant to be a relatively simple family friendly game. As I mentioned, the game contains these kind of social sim elements and there are a number of areas to visit around the campus. A classroom, the principal's office, a shop, the library, outdoor campus and the wizard's tower where the students do their training. In the classroom you can view a series of tips for when you go into the dungeons and Rivian will give you tasks to complete. You can go into the principal's office and get tasks. You can buy items in the shop and borrow books from the library. The outside of the campus has a number of activities you can take part in, like cooking, talking to your party members and growing vegetables, and then the Wizard's Tower is where the roguelike dungeon sections take place. The Wizard's Tower icon actually takes you to a map where you can see all the dungeons you either explored so far or the next dungeon that you are going to. For our next journey then into the dungeon, we're joined by Wistar. Lena has a bit of a hissy fit though and finds herself being confronted by this monster. The rest of the gang team up to save her though, and we make up with her. After that, it's time to go into the dungeon and do things proper. Fun fact, I fucked up a few times and went out of the tower without meaning to, but after running back up the tower, we're given our first proper boss, which is this cat creature inside a treasure chest. We go back to our teacher, turn in the assignment, and then it's time to get ready for the next tower. So after completing that boss, a few more things will become available in the outside part of the campus. You can now cook, fish, and plant seeds in the garden. And the next objective is actually to go back to that dungeon that we just completed to do another boss. So you go back up through the 10 floors again in that kind of roguelike style I mentioned earlier, and the boss is actually a familiar face, Skeleton T from all the previous Puyo Puyo and Madou Monogatari games. And I actually died here. I died. I got wiped out very quickly by Skeleton T and the two Puyos that were with him. And I decided to kind of leave it there, to be honest, because I don't think I could have gotten much further, to be honest. So there seemed like kind of a good place to finish my recording, and seemed like kind of a good place to end this kind of brief discussion. So either way, despite being kind of on the shorter side, I hope you enjoyed the video. If there's any more kind of upcoming Japan only releases that are of particular interest to me, I will be sure to update you in some way on this channel. But I'd like to kind of do more things that I can actually, games I can kind of actually review or discuss in more detail at the very least, because I don't speak Japanese unfortunately, so that kind of limits me to only kind of discussing the very basics when it comes to these kind of things. But again, either way, hope you enjoyed the video, and yeah, hope to see you soon. Take care.